Last year, I thought if there was one team that really had a chance to overtake the New England Patriots in the AFC, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought this was the one team that, while not great on defense, was spectacular enough on offense and explosive enough on offense to potentially outscore the New England Patriots in a shootout, especially with having an elite quarterback like Big Ben in the fold who has big game championship experience in his back pocket. And there was a period of time that even as the 2016 season played out, that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought that all this hype and buzz about the Patriots was going to be snuffed out in the AFC Championship game, potentially by the Steelers. And then the AFC Championship game happened. Le'Veon Bell says, I don't want to play. The Steelers just look lost. This was the week after Antonio Brown's stupidity of posting the post-game speech on social media. Like, why would you give the New England Patriots any more reason for motivation? Why would you give Bill Belichick any type of bulletin board material? Anyways, they got their asses handed to them in the AFC Championship game. But you still look at the Steelers, and you say, and I do again in 2017, that if there is any team, alongside with maybe the Oakland Raiders, but I'm not fully sold yet that they're ready for that level of prime time, that if there was a team that is most likely or most well-equipped to unseat the New England Patriots in the AFC, it might be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it might be good for that organization to have that belief and have a sense of urgency that indicates that they believe that time could be now, because this could be Big Ben's last dance. Now, there's been some buzz about his thoughts after 2016. Was he going to play in 2017? He took a little while to make it official that he was coming back. You start to get a guy thinking of like that, you have to believe that the clock is ticking. And you have to take each year on its own, because tomorrow's not promised or guaranteed whatsoever. Big Ben's in his mid-30s now. Big Ben could get to a point in time where he said, I've made a lot of money, I've won 2 Super Bowls, what more do I really need to do? I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame someday. I've had enough, I want to go golf every day now. Watch out, ladies. Big Ben's gonna retire, and he'll be ready to mingle. Just like Kobe Bryant, whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. Just saying. But the urgency is there, because I don't care who you bring in as a quarterback, that you could realistically bring in. There is going to be a drop-off, and potentially a significant drop-off if Big Ben is not there. So you have to treat it like this could be Big Ben's last year. And then you've got Le'Veon Bell holding out and wanting this type of money and all of this stuff, It will be a really interesting season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll see how things play out. I like the addition of Joe Hayden. Why not gamble? Why not take a chance? In the 2017 draft, you bring in a guy like T.J. Watt, another young edge rusher that you could pair with Bud Dupree, who you got a couple of years ago in the first round. So you've got some youth there. And when you look at this team in general, with Bud Dupree and Ryan Shazier and J.J. Watt, you could at least say, T.J. Watt, probably won't be the only time that happens for me or anybody else. I'm just saying, especially if T.J. Watt's any damn good at the NFL level, that they've got 3 of their 4 linebackers in that 3-4 are former first-round picks. So they have invested heavily into the most important position that they have on the defensive side of the ball, which is the linebacking crew. When the Steelers have been at their best, they've had great linebacker play, and that's been true for going back to the 70s, frankly, with Ham and Lambert and Russell. And then you had the Kevin Greens and the Greg Lloyds of the world, the Chad Browns, the Levon Kirklands, the Joey Porters, the James Harrisons. Jesus Christ, James Harrison is still there at age, 30 damn 9? Lawrence Timmons. I mean, you could just go on and on. But when they've been at their best, their linebackers have been really, really good. And I think in some ways, it's a strength of the team. I don't know if this unit quite measures up to some of the other units of the past, but if T.J. Watt develops and shows something, if Bud Dupree continues to develop, and Ryan Shazier can stay healthy and stay on the field, I still think that this could be an asset for this defense. But most of their strength comes on the offensive side of the ball. They've got offensive balance with Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, it can really, really hurt you in a variety of ways. And if they get a Martavis Bryant back, which they have, and he does anything at all, it just balances out that offense even more. You can't just double team Antonio Brown because now you got another guy who could go vertical just as well as Brown, if not better, and make some big plays. And then when you talk about big plays, this is an offense that could score a bunch of points in a hurry. Le'Veon Bell is a home run threat potentially every time he touches the ball. Antonio Brown is a threat to go the distance potentially every time he touches the ball. Big Ben, honestly, with his arm, with his poise, with his field vision, with a variety of factors, is potentially a threat to make a big play happen, including a score every time he touches the ball. There are very few teams in the NFL that boast the level of elite talent at key positions like quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and the explosiveness in their offense that the Pittsburgh Steelers do. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the Steelers have traditionally been a pretty tough team to run against. They were again in 2016, and I see that playing out again in 2017 with guys like Cameron Hayward, Hargrave, Stephon Tuitt on that front line. This is a team that can be tough to run against. So you're a team that can potentially score quickly, and then a team that has a tendency to make you one-dimensional. The problem is when you get into the weaknesses or the concerns about this team, the secondary, which they have started to invest in more in recent years, and I've applauded that, Artie Burns and so forth, the secondary is still a question. They've got a bunch of young pieces there. How much talent and meaningful talent do they really have back there is a problem. And in particular, when you face guys like a Derek Carr, when you face guys in the AFC like a Tom Brady, are those guys going to be able to just pick you completely apart? Because your secondary just can't hold up, especially if you don't get a consistent enough pass rush to disrupt the timing of the quarterback and the opposing team's passing game. Then I think as much as anything else, it's the health of the big three. You got to have Big Ben healthy all year. You got to have Antonio Brown healthy all year. You got to have Le'Veon Bell healthy all year. Because it seems like the Steelers get to a point every year, and then all of a sudden somebody has an injury, somebody gets dinged up, somebody doesn't play in a playoff game, and then you're sent home maybe before you should. Steve's got to find a way to be able to go into the playoffs with all three of these guys healthy. Because if they do, they can win a Super Bowl this year. Not saying they will. Not saying they should, but they could. But one of the things they're going to have to do is have better focus. Better focus and discipline at times at big spots. And then also better focus in those situations where they're facing teams that are clearly a step or two below them. And that has been a bugaboo of this team under Mike Tomlin for years. Is when the Raiders were bad, they would lose to the Raiders. When the Jets were bad, and you have to specify because there's so many times where the Jets were bad, they would lose to them. They lose to a Browns type of team or something like that. Tampa Bay, when they were terrible before Jameis Winston, they find ways to lose to teams they have absolutely no business losing to. So early on in the season, when they go to Cleveland week 1, to Chicago in week 3, week 5 they host Jacksonville, they must win all three of those games. As it could potentially make a difference for them if they want to hang with Pittsburgh and Oakland to try and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the AFC, or at least with Oakland and maybe somebody else to potentially get the second seed and at least get a first-round bye in the playoffs, which is critically important for the Steelers team. But they have to be able to handle the business against lesser teams, which again has been a major issue for the Steelers for years. And if they lose one or two of those games early in the year, or even just one of them, Cleveland, Chicago, Jacksonville have no business being in the same league as the Steelers, honestly. They have no business hanging with them. And if any or all three of them do and one or two of them beats them, then it makes you really question just how committed the Pittsburgh Steelers are to realizing their full potential. And then in December, you've got 5 games, including 3 divisional games and 2 other key matchups. They go to Cincinnati, and then the next week, they're at Baltimore. Or they host Baltimore, So there's 2 division games late in the year. Then week 15, you go to New England, and who knows what could be on the line there. And then week 16, you host Houston, who comes in with a defense that is better than yours. And then week 17, you have a Cleveland Browns team. And again, with divisional games, laugh if you want, but Pittsburgh could have something locked up by them, but still need to play for something more. Cleveland could be saying, hey, this is a divisional rival. We hate the Steelers. We're trying to establish something behind Deshaun Kaiser and Hugh Jackson for 2018 and beyond. and we want to take these guys and cost them something, that's no gimme game either. When all comes to pass, though, I think the Steelers are still one of the elite teams in the AFC this year. I think they are clearly the class of the AFC North. I think if this divisional race is really super competitive, anywhere past week or 14 or 15 this year, then that either means A, somebody else like the Ravens or the Bengals really surprise people, or B, it means that the Steelers have disappointed a bunch of people. I think they win the division by a couple of games. I envision them going maybe 11-5. I think 12-4 is probably the ceiling for them, but 11-5 seems like a pretty sweet spot. Maybe ending up with the number 3 seed. Their hope is, though, I would have to think, is they can at least, worst case scenario, get the number 2 seed and get a first round bye. Because if they have to host a home playoff game in the wild card round, you're just rolling the dice and taking a chance on Ben or Brown or Bell getting hurt. This is football's version of the Killer Bees. And ultimately, as long as the 3 Killer Bees are interested, healthy, and on the football field, this team can beat anybody in the National Football League. I just wonder when you get to that point in time where it's really going to matter if they're going to have all 3 of them there. But this team should be in the mix, and they should definitely be in the mix come January and be viewed as one of the few teams that could knock off the New England Patriots in the playoffs, because they do have the ability to do that. I firmly believe that.